What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense Podcast. Today, we have Meenu back today, and we are talking about things such as when life throws you curveballs. Like, what do we do with it? What do we do with that emotion? How do we process it? And Meenu is going to walk us through that. This is more of a conversation piece versus like a coaching piece. So I really hope you like today's format. I really enjoyed this conversation with Meenu, so let's just dive on in.
Welcome back, guys, into another brand new episode and transcend into wellness and Babbles Nonsense. We are here to talk about so many things today. I know this title might have been like, why are they talking about lemons? But we're not really talking about lemons, guys. Like, it's a metaphor. So we're really going to get into all of that. And we are at very unpredictable times right now. We're actually recording this on election day. We don't want to talk about that, but the energy right now is very heightened all around us, everywhere. But we still decided to go ahead and record a podcast.
So if like anything comes off like, wow, they're just really into that or whatever, it's more probably the energy that we're feeling internally about the election, probably, and it's just coming across in a different manner.
Yes, so
Probably.
don't mind the fiery energy. The fiery, we're both water signs, but today we both have fiery energy. So don't mind
Yes.
it.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm excited about this topic. We have been talking about it and bouncing the idea around for a couple of weeks. And of course, things came up in your life, things came up in my life, and we couldn't record. And then it just happened to be today.
I know it happened to be today of all days. Oh my gosh. But hey, what better day to talk about issues, right? What a better day to talk about problems and how to navigate that. So it's like,
All
we'll talk
right.
about that. So we're like, we're really what it's more of a conversation today, guys. What we're really going to like talk about is like when life throws a curveball, like when life is unpredictable, when shit hits the fan, like what do you do? Like how do you navigate through that situation? How do you move through that situation? Which is essentially connecting it to like control and the lack of it. And when you have lack of it, like how do you deal with that, right? And I know that Jana, like we've talked about it before. I think you have some control stuff. I have some control stuff. So
I think I have a control problem. I think that's everything in my life. It's because I want to control it instead of
Mhm.
just giving it to faith, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, just giving it over. I think that is my biggest problem.
Right. And obviously, we can dive deeper into that, but I think it comes from an inherent lack of trust in other people to have your back, whether that's God or whether that's universe or whether that's society or parents. When I think there's lack of security from the external world, you automatically find a coping mechanism that says, I don't want anybody, I don't want any security from anybody, I don't trust anything. I'm going to control this whole thing so it can go in a way that makes me feel safe. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed. And I mean, we can also talk about that, like how that comes from childhood and kind of stems from childhood. Like if you don't have that trust there and you can't build the trust in yourself, then you
Mhm.
grow up thinking, if I don't do this myself, it won't get
Mhm.
done. Like it kind of also stems over into things like projects in school. Like that's the first thing that popped up into my head when you said it. Like when you're
Mhm.
doing group projects in school, like how everyone's supposed to have a different task or be assigned a different task. But then I would always be like, I've got it. I'll do it all. Y'all just show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you have to trust that other person's going to do their job and show up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It definitely took a lot for me. I think this was so funny because I used to have, for me, it's not more of projects, it's not more of thing. For me, it shows up in different ways, which is like with my business, right? I will never say never. But for now, I don't see myself hiring anybody to do my sales. I don't see anybody, and I don't see hiring anybody to do my posts or my videos or this. I just don't see it because I just feel like they'll mess it up. They won't have the essence. They won't do it right. But and I have that thing with driving too. And I actually kind of overcame that a few years ago when I was sitting in the passenger seat of my friend who was learning how to drive. And I was like, I would not do this for anybody. I love your ass, and that's why I'm sitting on the passenger seat. You better drive safe.
That's funny that you say that because anywhere I go, like with my friends or whatever, they're always like, "Hey, do you want a carpool?" And I'm like, "No, I'll drive. I'll meet you there, or I'll drive us." Look, I have an
Yes,
issue with driving too because if I'm in the passenger seat, it's like I'm the whole time going,
yes,
"Oh God."
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I feel that on another. I still have it. It comes from time to time, depending on who's driving. I
Right.
should have some trust in that person. Otherwise, I would rather drive. So, that sparks an interesting thing, right? What do we trust in? What do we have control in? And what do we not have control in? So, to be really brutally honest, after having this human experience for 34 years now, I believe that control is the biggest illusion. I don't think we have control over anything. I feel like we can set intentions and we can move in the direction of that intentions, but things may not go in a way that is planned in the order that we planned it.
And it's funny that you say that because like what I'm going through and experiencing with my house situation right now, which I know guys, I've mentioned this house like in all these past podcasts and the episode is coming, I promise. Um, but that's something I'm learning in my life as a lesson right now. And I truly think it's just a lesson from above, like to let go and stop controlling. Because every time I try to control the situation or try to take back control, things
Mhm.
get worse. But every
Yeah.
time I like, okay, I gotta let go, I gotta release this control, then things start kind of falling where they should.
Right. And it's so hard for us, yet, even though the lesson is like so obvious, it's still so hard for us, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where I think like I believe that we should do our part. For example, like if I'm gonna sit on my couch and if I say, oh, I don't have any clients, like yeah, I mean, duh, like I'm not doing anything. I'm not taking inspired action. I'm not posting on social media. I'm not, listing my business on Google or Yelp, and I'm not doing anything. So how am I supposed to like get it, right? So I think that's the beautiful balance of where do we take inspired action and then where do we let go? And I think the entire life, actually don't think, I know that the entirety of our existence is about balancing these two things. And when we do too much of one, then it leads to burnout.
Yep.
Or we do too much of relaxing and we don't do anything and we don't take any action, that leads to feeling very spaced out and ungrounded, right? So this is a very huge subject. Like, for example, like John was talking about our house, like I had some things that came up with my business where I was working with this agency and I wanted to run ads, like Facebook ads, to like get my product like going. And I think there was a part of me which was trying to control. I was like, okay, I really want to launch this. It'll be like this, it'll go like this. And I think I could hear myself energetically, physically creating a story of how it is supposed to go and how it will go. I could like feel it, I could hear it. I got excited about it for a second. And then I had to really ground myself and be like, okay, this is not tangible yet. So let's see how it goes. But you know how I mean, you know what I mean? It's like when you're really excited, when something is new, you can't help but get excited.
Right, right.
I'm kind of like that excited puppy, it's like, ooh, exciting, So, and I worked with this agency. We worked for 1 month, expectations were not met. Second month, expectations were not met. And then I had a contract with them for 4 months. And in the contract, the agreement said I can dissolve this at any point. So after 2 months, I had to humble myself and be like, okay, the plans that my ego had created did not happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it'll never happen. It did not happen with this agency, even though I believed that it'll really happen. So, was there disappointment? Yeah, there was disappointment because there were expectations, there were promises made, So, obviously, there were disappointments, but then I'm not, I sat with it. I sat with it for a day and then I got over it because I'm like, what is it going to do if I'm just disappointed? Like, the universe doesn't owe me shit. God doesn't owe me shit. Like, everybody is disappointed. Everybody makes plans and plans don't work out. So the best way I feel like to navigate situations like that is ask yourself, did you act out of fear or scarcity? Because I feel like I acted out of rush, not even fear or scarcity, but I was like kind of in a hurry to
Hmm.
like get this out, kind of not in a grounded place. I was like in a hurry. I was like, I need to get this out. I need to do this. I need to, so my lesson is Don't do anything unless you're fully grounded, fully ready, taking the time to analyze it, taking the time to do research, and then you do it. And even when you do it, I'm not saying it will succeed, right? So there's
Right.
that. But then in my end of the street, and I always like to reflect and ask, what did I do here? And what can I learn from this? And how can I do it better? Because that's what you can control. What
Yeah.
you can control is how you show up, how you bring your energy and how you learn from your mistakes. So what I learned from this is like, I'm not going to do anything from scarcity. I'm not going to do anything in a rushed manner. I'm not going to feel like I'm pressured to do it. I have to do it from an aligned place. I have to do it when I'm ready, not from scarcity, not from neediness, because there was also a little bit neediness, not from that. And I just decided in staying aligned, and I'm, back to being here, back to doing all this. So that was a crazy lesson that I learned over these past 2 months. And, that brings me to the topic that everybody has something like that.
Yeah, no, you're right. So like my house situation has been going on now. Technically, the second thing, this is the second time this issue has reoccurred. And I'm gonna have to be a little like alluding because I'm not gonna give too much detail, but the issue that's going on with my house, this is the second time it's reoccurred, and it has now been going on almost 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, I had to take action. So that's where, and I want to get into this. So, like, a question that's going to, like, that arose for me when you were talking was, how do you know when to take control and to take action versus when to let up? Because it does come, that's hard for me to discern sometimes. But fortunately, I have great people around me, like you and my aunt, who are always like, okay, like, you need to, release the reins a little bit. But like,
Mm-hmm.
my house stuff has been going on for approximately 4 months now. And when it first started, like, I had to like be action oriented. I had to get it going. I had to make all these plans. I had to call all these people, and I had to go. And
Mm-hmm.
everything was kind of falling into line. And now, like, now that we kind of semi know what's going on with the house,
Okay.
I once we find a problem, I'm like, oh, let's start doing this, let's start doing that. And then it's like
Mhm.
I'm starting to take too much control at that point, and then things start falling apart because I'm kind of over controlling the situation because in my
Interesting.
mind, I'm like, oh, I know what's wrong, but really we only know half the problem, right?
Right.
So
No, for
that
sure.
and so like it's hard for me to talk about it because it's like I want to say what's going on. So it's kind
Right.
of hard to like make examples when you're not giving an example. But how do you know? Like in my situation, like at the beginning, I had to be action oriented and I had to start taking control. But then how do you know when to release that control a little bit and let the universe start doing its thing?
So this is really interesting because there's different ways to know that. One way is trial and error, like exactly what you learned, right? It's like you did too much and then you're like, oh my God, no, no, no. That feels like, no, that does not feel good. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. I'm not. So that is another way to learn. It's like, oh, it really does not feel good. So I'm going to stop doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the best indicator, guys. It's like, whenever you start something new, when you're excited for something, whatever, you are pumped with a lot of adrenaline. There is a lot of, energy. You're like, okay, I want to get this puppy started. Like, let me take action. So that is inspired action because it comes with some energy behind it. It comes with a plan. You feel kind of aligned about it. You got to do it. So that's inspired action. Anytime you're overdoing it, you are going to start to feel like it doesn't feel good in your body. It feels suffocating. It feels too much. It feels stuck. That is when you're like, if you're feeling too stuck and you're just going, 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 stop, take a pause, and ask yourself if the going is still serving.
Right.
The going just like putting out fires in your survival brain, or is it actually serving?
Right.
Because if it's not actually serving, then you're just getting drained. You're just getting burnt out. You're just in for disappointment, right? So I would say that is like the best indicator to know when to like take action and then when to not give up, but surrender, let go of control for a second. Take action, let go of control. Like another example that I can give is I can send out the emails, I can put out the post, I can do the podcasts, but I cannot go to clients and be like, hire me, please hire me. Like, no, I cannot do that. Nor will I do that. That's not my sales strategy. I don't follow people. I don't like to ask people to work with me. It has to be called, they have to come to me. But I'm still doing my part. right? So that is the gentle balance. And sometimes what happens is when our expectations are too high, we tend to overdo.
Yeah. We tend to take more control.
We tend to take more control.
Yeah.
And then we get burned because we're like, oh, nothing actually is happening. I think I need to like take a break. I think I
Yeah.
need to pause, and all those things. And then I think where this leads me to is this is again another topic for another podcast, but I'm going to touch on it a little bit, is to stop creating stories because one aspect of your life is not going as per your plan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now, this kind of ties into what we typically talk about when we talk about relationships a lot. I know we're talking about like tangible things, but like we can also kind of talk about control in relationships a little bit
Oh,
too,
sure.
because
Yeah.
I know that like when I've been in situationships or I really have this expectation that, oh my gosh, this could be the person, like everything just seems to be fitting, but it's not really flowing naturally, right? You not that it's not flowing naturally, but like let's say it is flowing a little bit naturally, but then you're like you kind of gravitate on and hold on to that, and then you kind of try to control it and move it and navigate it, and you're like, but let's keep going in that momentum, let's keep going in that direction, but you're controlling it at that point. So then is it like then I get stuck in my head. I'm like, well, am I controlling it or is this way it's supposed to be going? You know?
Well, depends on like who initiates a lot, right? I think if you're initiating all the time, then you're driving the car, baby. Like that's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
But if it's like both sides, it's like, oh, let's go for coffee. Okay, let's go for lunch or let's go for dinner. It's like both energies are interacting, both energies are synergizing, then great. Then that's the way it's supposed to be. Because there's no control, there's just ease, and then there's openness, right? But control comes up a lot in relationships, like a lot. I'm actually obviously not going to name names, but I have a close friend that just got back into dating and she's back on the apps. And, like I can see that she gets really excited about meeting some people. She gets really excited about conversations. She gets really excited about dates. And she gets really like overly excited than she's supposed to sometimes. And then I have conversations with her and I'll be like, listen, let's come to reality. you know,
Right. And it's
let's see.
hard. It's
Yeah.
hard because like you do get overly excited and you get expectations. And that's with anything, whether it be relationships or something new, a new job, whatever. You got a new car, you got a new house, whatever. You get overly excited. Just like you said, you have these expectations, which drives what did you say? It drives your momentum. You said it at the beginning. You said it drives something like
Mm.
oriented action or something. Um
Inspired action.
yeah,
Yeah.
inspired action. So like it drives that inspired action and then it's almost like it's also a little bit of control because that's
Mhm.
mostly our personalities. Let's just call us
Mhm.
type A's because that's who this problem is these type A people.
Mhm.
And then it's like the inspired action kind of starts going back a little bit, but the control keeps going forward. And then it's like you forget to pull back the control a little bit with that inspired action because it's like the inspired action's going backwards and the control
Yeah.
keeps going forwards. And then all of a sudden
Yes.
you look 3 months ahead and you're like, shit, I'm controlling everything in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true. And that observation, that's actually amazing. The way you explained it is
And if y'all
awesome.
could see, like, if y'all could see my hand, like, I was doing like a hand motion, like, it just made so much sense when I was like, had my hands together. And then
Yeah.
obviously, this isn't a visual podcast, but like, I had my hands together and I was like driving it like a boat. And then all of a sudden, my
Yeah.
left hand is going backwards, my right hand is going
And it's
forward.
going forward. Yeah, it's so funny, guys. You should see this. We should do a YouTube series sometime. But
But
I,
it's
I
like that,
totally
that's
no,
what
I
it is,
well,
you
I
know?
feel on another level. That is exactly what happened with my agency when I was working with just now. I was like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. The inspired action became control. And then when the conversion stopped coming in a day or two, I would be like, what is going on? I couldn't surrender because they had promised me. We had talked about it. So, oh my God, like expectations, I have always seen ends in disappointments. So I have almost like after life experiences, after coaching so many clients, I'm almost, not always, almost come to this point of neutrality in all situations. And to be brutally honest, I feel like that is serving me more than anything ever in my entire life. For
Well,
example, it's
I was gonna
like,
say,
let's say,
yeah, let's talk about you as a coach. Like, go ahead and say your example, and then we're gonna bring your example back up as a coach.
right. So for everything, the way I practice is being neutral about it, right? So for example, let's say for example, I can give you a real life example. This past month, October, I traveled to Spain. I went to Barcelona for 5 days. And so everybody that I talk to is like, oh my God, it's amazing. This, that, blah, blah, blah. Like they loved Barcelona. And then there were other people that were talking about, the theft and all these problems there where people steal stuff. You can't keep things outside. You got to be careful and all these things. So I'm getting mixed information. And then I'm traveling with a few people that are very excited, right? My brain kicked in and my brain is like, let's not be very excited. Let's not look at the negative sides of Barcelona. Let's stop tuning into both sides and let's be open for the experience.
Yeah.
And when I did that, guys, like when I did that, Jonna, I truly had the best time. I saw it for what it is. I saw the pros, I saw the cons, and I absolutely loved Barcelona. I like absolutely 10 out of 10 recommend it. But I was able to be fully present and not in the expectations.
No, I love that because like we can all agree that we all get these expectations in our mind, whether it be you met someone like you were talking about your friend, you met someone new and you're just so
Mhm.
excited because you're like, oh my gosh, this could be the one, this could be my husband, and you have those expectations in your head, right? Then you go on the
Mhm.
date and it's a flop and you're just like, oh, like man, I had built this person up in my head, or whether it be like I bought this house and this was supposed to be my dream home and look
Yes.
what's going on. You build these
Yes.
expectations up in your head. So, and it's not that we're not saying to dream, we're not saying to have expectations, but how do you like find that fine line of like still have like you want to have expectations of
Mhm.
people because you don't want to like not expect anything. You don't want to
Oh,
like
for
just bottom of the barrel it
We're,
for your
we're,
whole
we're
life.
human, we're human beings. We're inherently dependent, need, admire, adore other people. We're a community at the end of the day. There is inherent expectations, whether we want to or not.
So how do you find that fine line? Like how do you find that fine line of not giving into too much of your expectations and also to dive into neutrality?
Honestly, it's a lot of inner work. I mean, I've been doing the work for 10 years now. It's a lot of inner work, and the work keeps working. I mean, I keep doing it. It doesn't end. And you know that, like you've done that. It
Right.
does.
Which
So
is
it's like managing it, right? It's managing expectations. It's saying, is it okay for me to have these expectations of this person, even though like they don't know what I expect? That's true in dating. Like they don't know what my expectations are until they've really gotten to know me, right? Or whether that's situation. Like you don't know if it's going to turn out, but is it okay for me to have expectations? Is it safe for me to have expectations? So asking yourself these realistic questions and saying, is it okay for me to have expectations? Is it safe? And then doing like these energy checks, like quick check-ins. I think what that will do is enhance your awareness. And awareness is always great for healing. Anytime you're aware of something, you heal a lot more. So that'll keep you in awareness. But sometimes when I ask myself this question, and my inner psyche, your intuition is always going to tell you guys. So it's like my inner psyche will be like, no, 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 let's not have expectations. Let's be optimistic and open
yeah.
the experience, right? So I do that with people. It's now become a part of my life where it's like brushing my teeth. It's so crazy.
No, and that was gonna be the question that I was gonna ask you earlier. Like,
Yeah,
how do you as a coach, because I'm sure like we've talked about this, you're not perfect. No one's perfect. You
right.
probably find yourself doing old habits and you have to
Mhm.
pull yourself out and you probably quickly pull yourself out of it because of all the coaching that you've done and the training that you've done and the inner work that you've done. So how do you deal with that when you find yourself like kind of falling back into old patterns and catching yourself do that?
Yeah. So at first, obviously, I'm human. I'm not a robot. So the first emotion that comes is a lot of disappointment, right? A lot of disappointment comes, and I'm like, damn, like I can't believe I did this, yada yada yada. And then I realize that even that is a program.
I was about
So
to say,
I
is it double disappointment for you since you're a coach and you're like, I should know better?
Yes and no, because I don't put my profession on a pedestal. Does
Well,
that make sense?
good, 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 good.
I don't do that. And I tell this to all my clients, I tell this to my friends, please don't look at me differently. Please don't put me on a pedestal. I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. I want to be seen for who I am, not for my title, not for what I do.
Yeah.
So that is something I accepted within myself. So I know that I make mistakes. You know what I mean? I know that sometimes I'm not meeting my own expectations. So when that happens, the first thing is I get disappointed. I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have done this, should have done that. And then I catch myself. I'm like, who said it has to be like this? Who said it has to go like this? It is my condition. It is society, right? So I unprogram, I deprogram myself and be like, let's say nobody said this or that, should haves, could haves, must haves. Let's say that didn't exist. And I get to restart. How do I want to restart this?
Mm-hmm.
Because that, what happens is it helps me get out of the funk. It helps me process the funk because I'm all about processing, right? I sit in it, I tap it out, I journal, I meditate, I do breath work, I do all different tons of tools that I have. I do everything. And then I'll never start anything on the day I feel shitty. That is a rule of thumb for me. If I'm feeling shitty today and it keeps getting worse, I sit with it, I process it, I don't try to run. Okay, that is one thing I actively practice. It's very hard, but trust me, it'll help. And then I sleep, and then always the next day I feel reset.
And guys, running could be anything from, and she doesn't mean physically running. She means like zoning out,
Yeah,
TV,
yeah.
podcasts, music,
Drinking, smoking,
alcohol,
drugs, everything.
drugs,
Mhm.
sex, going and spending time with your friends, not sitting alone with those terrible feelings.
Yes, 1000%. Because the more you're running away from it, the higher and the greater the impact is going to be for you later. Because that means you're telling yourself, you're literally telling yourself, it is not safe to be with myself. It is not safe to be with my mind. It is not safe to be with my energy. I am a fuck up. I should, I can't face my feelings. I'm not brave enough. You are signaling to your subconscious all these things if you don't sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Literally. So what I do is I sit with it. It sucks. It really sucks. And then I really process it. I do all these different things. And then typically my best friend jokes about it. She'll be like, so did you get over it yet? Like, did you get over it already? It's been 4 hours. I'm sure you're over it. She'll like make fun of me because my processing time is very quick because I have done it 1,000 times. You
Yeah.
do something 1,000 times, you're gonna get good at it, whatever it is, you know?
There's this guy that I talk to and we're friends now. And I remember when we were talking, he just made the comment that like if something happens, like whether it be like a fight or something, he said he is fine the next day. He said I'm over it by the next day. Like he was like there, just move on. And I was just like, wow, like I don't do that. Like, but I'm
Mm,
getting better at it. Like after working with you and like working with, you know, therapy and whatever, like I am getting better at it, but I do tend to hold on to things a little bit longer and I'm not
mhm.
as quick of a processor as
Yeah,
like the 24 hours or 4 hours or whatever.
right, right, right. So I think, and I want to be more transparent, right? It also depends on what it is that I'm processing. So there are some things which I'm just like, I'm over it, whatever. Like I'm next day, I'm fine. And some people are taking months and years, right? But there are some things which I take a little longer too. I'll be like, okay, and then this is where acceptance comes in, right? I accept that this program or this will not be over quickly for me. I accept that this will take some time.
And that's the key is the
That's the
acceptance.
key. Yes, because when you're saying, "Oh, I have to get over it, I have to get over it," that's also control.
Yeah. Yes. It's so funny because the thing that's popping up into my mind is this song by Chris Brown that I love, and it's
Yeah.
called Survive the Night. And like one of the verses is now I'm gonna forget it obviously, but it says, oh, it says who told you that you get to decide how I'm feeling inside? I'm
Mm.
effing over it. Like, and I that just kept replaying over in my head when you were talking, and I was like, this like maybe that's what that song is about. Like who told you that you get to
Yeah.
decide how I'm feeling inside?
I think that's where, and this is such an important topic, guys, and even Jonna, you can agree with me on this. You will. It's like when you tell yourself, this is how it has to go.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
already screwed. Like you're screwed. I don't care how proficient you are, how great you are, how, amazing you are. Like that itself is such a high expectation. And what that leads to, yes, it also leads to drive and ambition. Yes, so there's positive aspects to that for sure. I'm not saying not, But there is also the greater the reward, the greater the disappointment too. So if you're okay with that, you do you. I'm always a coach that'll be like, you do you if you're okay with the consequences.
And we can use me as an example for that. Like, I think I'm very ambitious. I think I have a lot of drive, but I also have a lot of control. And that works wonderful in my professional life, but it does not work wonderful in my romantic life because I have these expectations of how this romantic situation should go. And then I try to control it, and then I control it right on out the door.
Mm.
Like, bye. That control just ran that guy right on off.
I have to disagree with you. I mean,
I don't
yes
know.
and no. Yes, but I really do feel like you have done tremendously better.
Yeah, 100%. I'm talking about before. Like I'm
Oh,
talking
for
about
sure.
previous relationships where I've
Yes,
tried to like make
yes.
it work so bad. Like cuz I was just like this just needs to work.
Right, right, right. And I feel like that is such a that's like setting up for disappointment, right? So the best reframe for that, the solution. So now you guys are listening to it for 40 plus minutes. So what's the solution? What's the solution? Solution. The solution is have expectations. That's not a problem, but check in with yourself and ask yourself, does it feel safe to have these expectations? Does it feel good for me to have these expectations? If the expectations don't go in a way that I wanted to, how am I going to navigate through that, right? My approach is very different. I'm going to tell you my approach. Feel free to use it if you want. My approach is have very little expectations. Very little expectations. But my intention is to show up for it. My intention is to take inspired action. My intention is to, be authentic in my energy and, put on the best foot front. Like that is my intention.
And so what I'm hearing from you, just listening and not being a coach, is like obviously know the difference between intention and expectation.
Yes.
Know the
One,
difference in yourself.
know the difference in yourself. Like, so another example that I want to give you is like, I met a new friend a few weeks ago, and they had reached out to me. They had posted in a group, and they were like, "Do you want to have coffee?" And this other friend was like pumping me up, and she was like, "Oh my God, it seems so amazing. I think you're going to have a great time. It's going to be great," and all these things. And I said, "You know what? I don't know, and I like to stay there." I like to say that I don't know if this interaction, is going to be great. I don't know. But you know what? I'm open. I'm very open to meeting with this person. I'm very open to seeing how this interaction goes. I'm very open and I'm going to be nice. I'm going to dress up and I'm going to feel great. So that what it does is it tells me that my intentions and how I show up is still very much within my control. But how the event turns out, how the friendship turns out, how the conversations turn out, it's not in my control. And that's
Mhm.
good because, I don't have that weight of the expectations that, damn it, it didn't go in a way that I wanted to. I wasted 2 hours of my life. Damn it, like I'm not
Yeah.
doing.
And I like that you said that because you're still being true to yourself because like if you're a control person, like you're still being able to control the controllables, but you're
Yes.
letting go of the stuff that you can't control.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, without giving too much details for the house stuff, I think you're doing that. I think you're doing your part. Like whatever you have to do, you are calling the people, you're meeting the people, you're talking to the people, you're doing it. But what happens outside of that is you have to leave it. You just have
Leave
to
it
say,
and just live my life. Yeah.
yeah, leave it and live your life because at the end of the day, the bigger picture, sometimes all we need is a zoom out. Like, I needed it today because the energy is so chaotic today. God, like we're not. But I needed a zoom out and be like, is my entire life ruined? No, no, no. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm still here. I still have my body. I still have my energy, my intelligence, my friends, my
Your
people,
health.
my health, my family. I still have so much. It is not the end of the world. And just because one aspect of your life doesn't go in a way that you intended it to, what happens to our survival brain? Survival brain kicks in and it says, everything has gone to shit. It's miserable. Everything is bad. Everything sucks. But I want you to pause there. This is why I say self work, inner work is the one thing that'll save you every day. Is pause, meditate, and ask, is that really true? Is
Mm,
everything bad? No.
right. So
No.
I'm going to ask you, Menu,
Yeah.
can you truly make lemonade out of lemons? Full circle moment.
Full circle moment. Yes, 1000% you can. But I think in order to make it, you have to have the right mindset to make it,
Yeah.
right? It's like if you say, oh my God, it's lemons, I don't know what to do with it. My life stinks and sucks and I'm trapped and stuck, then you are stuck and trapped,
With
right?
lemons.
Yeah, with the lemons, exactly. But if you're saying, I got all these lemons, God, I can make a pie, I can make a cake, I can make lemonades, I can do all this. It's too much. I didn't ask for it, but it's here. So metaphorically, what that means is when life throws shit at you, like whatever it is, whatever you're going through, relationship, work, whatever it is, the greatest thing that I've ever done for myself, and I keep doing it. And I sometimes when I do it, I have to interrupt the pattern and start doing it because I'm human, I make mistakes, right? Is that how can I learn from this? What did I learn from this? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business arrangement, whether it's a podcast collaboration, whether it's a client or an unaligned client that came to me and it was not a good fit. Like, what did I learn from it? What can I do differently? How can I show up differently? I think if we can do that, we're actually always winning.
Yeah, and it kind of goes beyond like if the supernatural, like if y'all don't believe in this, that's fine. Just fast forward it past this part. But like we still, it's kind of funny. We think we're in control of the situation, but really, like whoever you believe in, God, the universe, whatever, is really in control. So when you have that unaligned client or you have those things enter your life that you're just like, what the hell? I didn't control this. I'm not controlling it because you're not really in control in the beginning. Like you said at the beginning of this podcast, we're not really in control.
And it's really scary, guys. Like, I understand, like, if you're listening and you're like, what do you mean give up control? Like, I'm not asking you to give up control. I'm asking you to, own your power, set intentions in what you want to do, and take inspired action, which is still control, if you want to call it that. But I want you to do your part. That's all you can do. That's all you can
And
do.
leave the rest to the rest. Like,
Yes.
just only do what you can do and stop controlling
Yeah.
other people and aspects around the situation.
Yes. Yes. And I love, oh my God, we talked about so much. We always do that.
Yeah.
I think this was great, Jonna. Thank you so much for like being on board. I literally like before we recorded this, I was like, Jonna, I have a very interesting title for this episode.
I know. And shoot, well, when you brought this topic to me, you were like, I really want to talk about this. So I need your help. And I was like, girl, you're driving the bus on this one. I was like, because there's no way to research this because everyone has an opinion, because this is more of an opinion based podcast, kind of
It
like,
is.
because some people are going to listen to this and go, what? No, that's not how I live my life. My life has been great. I've controlled everything. I've controlled every aspect. I have the best of the best. I have everything I want.
I want
And
to I
great.
want to talk to that person. I really would like to talk to that person because I don't know a single person in the entirety of my existence that I have known that said I have controlled everything and it turned out exactly the way I controlled it. No,
Well,
false
it's
line.
called delusion, but anyways.
It doesn't exist. I understand planning, I understand planners, like they have a certain amount of control that they bring into the picture, but that's also intention and inspired action. So I think by doing that, we can always win. We can always win. If we can take and have intentions, take inspired action. When things fuck up, when things don't go our way, we learn our lessons. We ask, what are we learning? How are we learning? How are
Know
we
the
growing?
difference between expectation and intention.
Exactly. I think we can always win. And on that note, we are going to let you guys go. If you enjoy our collaboration, if you like our podcast, please go and leave us a review. You can leave it under Babbles Nonsense, leave a rating for her, review for her, leave a rating and a review for me, and transcend into wellness. And on that note, we will catch you guys more in future episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, guys. Thank you. Bye.